Welcome to Talking Heads on USA Global TV, starring the one and only wonderful Dr. Jacqueline. It's a prestigious place where world-class influencers and experts meet, and where you'll find the most trusted advisors and coaches for all things in life and business. Visit usaglobaltv.com to sign up for our newsletter, get the value you need, and be first in line to learn about events and giveaways and other valuable content. Connect with us. Email Dr. Jacqueline at usaglobaltv.com to talk about how you can become part of USA Global TV. That's USA Global TV, where the doctor is always in.
Hello and welcome back. We are so happy to have you here at USA Global TV and to our friends listening on Business Talk Radio. I'm Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck, and our show today is Talking Heads. And if this is your first time joining us, we're thrilled to have you. Our platform is all about bringing world-class experts who present in a 30-minute show, something to make us better personally and or professionally. And our guest today is the trifecta of USA Global TV, which means she is a co-host with a show starting soon next week with me. She is also an expert talking head, and she is an elevated listener. Her name is Mariska du Preez, and what that means is the trifecta. You need to reach out to her because she is someone who is authentic, who genuinely cares, holds a safe space for you as a listener, and also is an expert as a transformation and leadership coach. Let's bring her out. Welcome to the program, Mariska.
Hello, it is wonderful to be here today.
It's lovely to have you, and I'm really excited for your presentation. I'll be backstage taking notes. I'm going to share your deck, and I'll see you soon.
Well, let's get started, shall we? So we are starting on a new series this week, and it is all about seeing and then being, which is our awareness. So one of the reasons why awareness is so important for us is because not only do we need to see what is happening for ourselves and around us, but also then being able to apply that. So what I want you to think about first is, what is awareness, right? Is it knowing myself and my internal environment? Is it knowing others and the external environment, or is it a mixture of both? So if you said it was a mixture of both, you would be correct. It is our internal environment as well as our external environment. Now, there has been some fun research that is happening in this field, and they have found that some people actually has internal awareness, but not so much external, and the other way around. Some people are very aware of the external environment and how they might come across to others, but their internal awareness might not be so great. So we can actually develop the one without being consciously developing the other. So within this research that I spoke about, they also found 7 pillars. So the 7 pillars of awareness is whether we know our values, our passions or preferences, our aspirations, our patterns, our fit, so how we fit in with the environment around us, our reactions to said environment, and our impact, of course, our impact on others. So I've compiled a few questions, one on each of the topics, just to get our brains thinking about these 7 pillars. So thinking about your own self-awareness, what are your values? Are you aware of your values? Right? What are you passionate about? What do you truly want out of life? What environment makes you come alive? That place where You have so much energy and you can just go, go, go. What patterns do you keep repeating? I know for myself, there's quite a few patterns that I'm trying to break slowly but surely. What does your actions say to others? And what impact does your behavior have on others? And how do you react in those situations? So keeping these elements in mind, we see that there is some emotional content that comes up. And that's one of the reasons why emotional awareness and emotional intelligence is such a key thing to develop. And yes, we can develop our emotional intelligence. It is not something that we are necessarily born with to understand. We all have, with the research done in facial expressions and micro expressions that we've dealt with a little bit earlier in our body language part, we do know that there is 7 universal micro expressions. But even having those 7 universal micro expressions within ourselves, actually knowing what our emotions is telling us, how it feels when it shows up in our body, and naming it for ourselves is very important. And then, of course, being able to identify it in others and naming them, and then the interaction of the two, where our emotions and the other people's emotions also has that interaction and play. Because emotions is contagious. Just think about the last time you heard a baby laughing and you have that uncontrollable giggle. Of course, it brings a smile to our faces too, because that emotion is contagious. And this, of course, brings me to the element of neuroscience and our emotions. So for a very long time, we thought that thinking and our decision-making process was very much a cognitive type of activity. It's logical, it has facts in it, and that's the only things that we consider within a decision. Research has shown us, however, that that is not the case. We do take our emotions and also integrate that into our decision making. Think, for instance, for those of us that has bought homes or maybe a vehicle or something else that's a big monetary purchase that you made that was really important to you. It wasn't necessarily only about the facts. There was also emotion involved because it's an investment that we needed to make. So not only did our head have to say, yes, this is a good idea, but our heart also needed to say, yes, this is a good idea. We've also found in the thinking environment that when we come to an emotion that is really ingrained within our thinking, it does have a tendency to create a block. So if we don't feel that emotion and we don't release it, let it out, then our thinking has a tendency to go in a circular loop. So the pathway doesn't actually open up for us to have new thinking. So there's different ways how our emotions and our thinking also relates to our awareness, and it's very important to take note of these things. So I want to have a little bit of a fun exercise with you guys. So when you think about the word cat or the animal cat, right, what is it that comes up for you? So some of us might think cat and we will think allergies. We will think Oh, they're quite loud, especially at night when I'm trying to sleep and they're fighting outside. Or they're quite annoying. I actually don't want them close to me, but they always have a tendency to want to sit on my lap. Or we might think that they're a pest because they keep catching the birds outside that I feed to have them in my garden. On the other hand, maybe some of us might be thinking that a cat is a pet. I have 3 cats, for instance, so for me, cats are pets. We might see them as loving, we might see them as playful, and we might see them as soft and cuddly. I mean, who doesn't enjoy a great cat video, right? So here is another one. Think of skiing. Yes, that winter sport. So when we think of skiing, some of us might think danger. We might think fear. We might think, oh, it's really cold because you do need snow for you to be able to ski. And you don't like snow and you don't like being cold, so you think you're going to be fairly miserable. Whereas some of us might think skiing is adventurous. We might think of excitement, holidays, and maybe even family holidays that we took on the ski fields. So this is an indication how not only does emotion come up in the way we think about things or different activities or even different words, we all have our own little neuro map, so to speak, for each item. So if our neuro map for a cat is that they are a pet and they're loving and they're playful and they're soft, we will associate positive emotions with that word and with that animal. Whereas if we have a different neuro map for it, we will have different associations for it. And this, of course, brings us to the next thing, which is blind spots and biases. So because we have these associations that we make, and these little neuro maps that we create for ourselves, this creates blind spots and biases. So when you think about blind spots, it's things that we don't see. We don't notice them. It might be because it is part of our upbringing, the way we grew up to think about certain things. For instance, skiing, if it was a family activity and we did it on holidays, our perception of skiing might be fun and we might enjoy it a lot. And we might not think that other people don't enjoy it. So for us, that would be a blind spot in how others might perceive the exact same activity. So if I, for instance, love skiing and I invite my friend to come and ski with us, but my friend actually hates skiing, that would not have been a good invitation for my friend. My friend, however, might love going to coffee shops. So that would have been an invitation that would have been appreciated a lot more. So knowing our blind spots as well as our biases, so things that we assume to be true, but might not be, helps us to interact with other people and see those things that normally we don't necessarily take into consideration, which is part of our awareness field. And this, of course, brings us to another aspect of the blind spots and biases, which is what might others be seeing that we don't, and do we actually get that feedback? So when we think about our blind spots and biases, these things are normal to us. We don't even think about them. And because we don't think about them, other people might see it because they think about it differently. whereas we don't. So feedback is a really great way to find out how others see the things that we don't, or how others might interpret the things that we do. So our behaviors and our actions might show up in a certain way, and we might think it is all good and there's nothing wrong with it whatsoever, whereas for the other person, because they have different experiences and a different reference base, for them it might not show up as all good. So this then brings us to our little chart. And in our chart, what I want us to think about is our internal and our external environments and our awareness fields. So one of the spots is around our emotional intelligence. Now, as we mentioned, emotional intelligence is around our internal emotions, so our own emotions, as well as those of others. So can we identify our own emotions? And yes, sometimes it is a little bit tricky to identify our own emotions, because it might be that I feel a little bit, I don't know what the word is, frustrated, upset, sad. It just feels a bit yucky, but I can't quite get the right word for it. So actually feeling the feeling and then trying to identify what that is helps us to name it, and then being able to say, okay, so this feeling is this name. And then when we see that in others, it's also easier for us, for that external part, to see when someone else might be upset or happy or joyful or sad, depending on what emotion they are going through. So being able to identify our own emotions makes it a little bit easier for us to identify other people's emotions. So having that emotional vocabulary to be able to talk about it. And then, of course, the other part of emotional intelligence is around being able to regulate our emotions. So as we spoke about previously, and we'll do this in a little bit more depth later on in this series, is the regulation of our emotion isn't just related to our emotions ourselves, but it's also related to our thinking about the thing. So thinking about the neural pathways that we just discussed, you can see how easy it might be that when somebody mentions something like skiing, and you have a specific way of thinking about skiing, it might bring up specific emotions about that activity. So this is the way everything in our life works. They're all interconnected and intertwined. So a specific way of thinking will, because of our neural network, cause a specific way of feeling, because those feelings were linked during our construction of that neural network. And then, of course, it will cause us, our bodies, to do specific things within the body itself, actually producing hormones and all sorts of chemicals within the body that would cause us to feel the feeling even more. And then, of course, to think the thinking even more. So it's a bit of a loop. And of course, it can also work the other way around. Because these things are interconnected, they can go any which way. So it's very important to be aware of how they work for us. So within our reactions, of course, if somebody comes to me, for instance, and they're very upset and they start yelling and I'm feeling attacked, my reaction might be to attack back. knowing that this person might just be upset and the attack isn't really personal, although it might seem that way, my reaction might be a bit different. So understanding the emotions helps us to then react in a different way. And we are always, always in control of the way we react. And then, of course, because of the way we react, we have some control of the way that the other person might be reacting and responding to us. Of course, we don't want to be smiling in a sad situation. It doesn't always make sense. So we also need to develop our empathy muscles in that emotional intelligence sphere. Then, of course, the neuromapping around our blind spots. So our own blind spots as well as other people's blind spots. So thinking about our blind spots, we can actually just go and maybe draw up a little map for ourselves if that is a way that makes it easy for you to think through your own thinking, or otherwise just literally think through your own thinking. And start questioning a bit more how you might be perceiving or seeing different things or different people or different situations that you are interacting with on a daily basis. I had a fascinating exercise the other day that I did myself where I was thinking of 3 basic financial words. So the first word that I dissected for myself and just looked at my neural pathways a little bit was cash. And for me, cash came out as being something that's not necessarily a lot. So it's not huge amounts. I'm not thinking, when I think about cash, I don't think as in millions of dollars. I think in smaller amounts. I also think of cash as fast. So it's quick for transactions. Then I took the next word, and the next word was money. Now, for me, money has a different sort of meaning than cash. Money for me, I look at it more as a long-term investment sort of thing. It is a lot more than cash. So value-wise for me, I have more value that I would attribute to money than to cash. And I also, with money for me, I think of it as not necessarily something that can be spent as fast. It's something that is more in the investment savings type of realm. And then, of course, the other one was wealth. So when I think of wealth, I think of houses, buildings, investments, really long-term legacy type of things. So that was just an exercise I did to see how my neuromaps actually work differently depending on just the word, and all of them are related to finances. So it was quite an interesting exercise that I did, and I quite enjoyed seeing how these different elements played out and how I then interact with them. Of course, that's mine. I don't know what the other person's might be. So their interaction with the same word might be quite different, and their understanding of it might be quite different. So it's always good to know our own neuromaps in order for us to be aware that other people's neuromaps might be a little bit different to our own. And then, of course, our biases. I mean, it's ingrained in everything. Something silly, such as I'm an engineer, so I studied engineering. I needed to do mathematics. I needed to actually be fairly good at mathematics. I enjoy mathematics, but I am also, or rather, and I am also a female. Now, in some biases, females in mathematics, there's some great research on this too, doesn't mix so well. So in general, if they take the same paper and they give it to guys and girls and they say to fill it in, if they're in the same room and the girls have the bias that girls normally in mathematics do worse than boys, the girls will physically do worse than boys, even though it's within their capability to get all the answers right. So it's quite interesting how biases also impact our own performance and our own response, not only the biases other people have about us. So if we see ourselves as a lion, we will act as a lion, whether the other people see us as a lion or not. If they see us as a lion, they will act a certain way towards us. So that is sort of a silly way of explaining how a bias can impact ourselves as well as how it might impact someone else. And then, of course, with the feedback, getting practical, intentional feedback. So feedback is really important for us, especially when we think about our external environment. So knowing how we like to do things and how we normally react and how our emotion shows up for us, that is wonderful. We also need to know how other people experience them, because it might be that we think we show up a certain way and they experience it in quite a different way. So making sure that we know how these interrelationships work by getting very intentional feedback will be very helpful for us. So these are some of the elements that we will be discussing in the next 5 upcoming weeks. So I'm very excited for them. And then, of course, we have our last couple of questions. So today I want you to think about, having gone through a very brief overview of awareness, how aware am I? Where do I need to focus first? Is it internal or external? And what's my first step going to be? So that we are intentional with what we do. And then, of course, if you would like to get hold of me or contact me for some more information on this, you can get me at mariska@journeytodiscover.com, or you can visit my website, journeytodiscover.com, and the 2 is the number 2. And of course, we are always very excited to connect on LinkedIn. So do look me up on LinkedIn too.
Great job. Well done. I love the graphics today as well.
Thank you very much. I really enjoyed it, and I'm really excited for this series about awareness.
Yeah, so in case you haven't seen Mariska's first series or first set of 6, you can go over to our YouTube channel, which is USA Global TV, and go to Talking Heads. You can find them there. Mariska, really excited for this next group and also for our co-hosting starting next week.
Yes, that is going to be really exciting. So can't wait.
I'm just going to spotlight you if you would like to tell our audience what our show is going to be about and the types of guests that will be coming forth, and if somebody wants to be a guest.
Oh, yes. Okay, so our show is Leadership with Heart. And we are looking at leadership not only within the work context, but also within our communities and different areas in our life where we show up as leaders. So people that would be joining us for some discussions would be some thought leaders that we will be getting in. We'll also be getting in some coaches and anybody that has a different point of view on leadership. We would love to have you on the show and actually hear from you how you see leadership and how we might be applying it a little bit different so we can get that human element back into society as a whole.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. And if you're interested, you can go over to the website. As of this evening, you'll see the show tile posted there, usaglobaltv.com shows, and you can go ahead and book your session. All right. Thank you again, Mariska. I hope you have a beautiful day there.
Thank you. And a wonderful show again, Dr. Jacqueline.
Yes, always. I appreciate you. All right. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you, everyone, for watching and for sharing and just letting people know about us. We have 20 shows a week. We stream from Monday through Friday, and each of our shows have different topics. Obviously, Talking Heads is our expert team of presenters, and then we have many other shows. Just go over to our website, usaglobaltv.com, and those of you who are on our YouTube channel, please go ahead and subscribe. We'd love to have you with us as part of our USA Global TV family. All right, thank you again for being here. I really appreciate it. We're going to close out the show with a special broadcast, and I'll follow it up with where you can help get involved.
Меня зовут Маша, мне 9 лет, я живу в Красногоровке, у меня все хорошо. Кушать у нас есть, пить у нас есть, сахар у нас есть, все есть. Только дров не хватает. На буржуйке, когда у нас есть, вот эти мы дрова пособираем, закинем, оно горит. Например, в 10 запалили, в 11 закончили, вода нагрелась, и все, и мы купаемся.
В наш дом 4 было прямых попаданий, так что мы боимся. Человека даже осколками поранило, забрали в больницу с 6-го подъезда соседа, так что мы тоже боимся. У нас много деток, деваться нам некуда, нас никто нигде не ждет.
Когда вырасти, я хочу найти работу такую, чтобы я помогала людям, которые бедные, там.
If you would like to get involved, we urge everyone to go to www.unicef.org. All right. Thank you again for being here and for just being part of our beautiful world. Thank you, Mariska. And we'll look forward to seeing you all. We have programs Thursday and Friday, full day on Friday. And just each show has a different topic. And we're happy to be here. Again, if you'd like to be part of our team, go to usaglobaltv.com, book your session. Bye for now.